Hello, good morning, or good afternoon. I don't know when you decided you were going to do this lesson, but it should be August 24th if you're watching this. Um, if you found this video, then you also found the handout that goes with it. It's like some guided notes. You can type directly onto that, um, handout because you have your own copy. Yes, this is a social studies class, so why in the world are we talking about writing? Um, Social studies, especially today, is contingent upon how well you not only know the facts, as you would probably be used to a social studies class, but how well you can write about them, how well you can make claims on them and defend those claims with evidence. And as I found throughout my short teaching experience, um, students hate writing. Most students hate writing, especially like research-based writings that you have to um, use evidence and explain that evidence. And I think that's because you don't really know where to start, and there's not really a structure for you to follow. So hopefully, this will provide you with some assistance with that today. A lot of the terminology that you're going to hear, you heard last year in ninth grade English, and that you should hear this year as a sophomore in English. So hopefully they won't be too foreign to you, but I'm going to try and condense that writing method into how we're going to use it in social studies. So in social studies, there is there are two types of writings that you're going to do. So you could do a constructed response, which is basically just a paragraph, or an extended response, which is more of an essay. Within these writings, the paragraphs of these writings, we were going to use four types of sentences: topic sentence, textual evidence, commentary, and concluding sentence. You've been writing topic sentences and concluding sentences since you've started writing paragraphs in elementary school. You should know what those are. Your topic sentence is going to make the claim, it's going to set up the rest of your paragraph, and then your concluding sentence is just kind of restating your topic sentence. But the two in the middle, textual evidence and commentary, is what students have the most trouble with, and so that's where we're going to spend most of our time today. Text evidence, specific details from the text that are used to support the answer to the prompt. Commentary is your analysis, interpretation, explanation, or insight into the text. So, good writers will use evidence from the text to support their claims. If we write in my class and you do not use evidence, you will not get full credit. Students tend to have a hard time using evidence, using it correctly. They don't really know. They're like, I don't know what evidence to choose. The reason you have an opinion about something is because at one point you read something, or you saw something, or you heard something. That's your evidence. It's the reason you think what you think. It's supporting your claim, right? So if my claim is that, so my claim with my topic sentence, and I said that without the Nile River, the Egyptian civilization would not have existed, thus altering the course of history. That is my claim. Now, the reason I think that is because I've read articles about the Nile River and how that is the only source of fresh water in the middle of a desert in Egypt. All right, and so writing your evidence, you're going to use what we called evidence starters. So wherever you see an X, that is going to be your source, okay? So if the article I was talking about was the Nile River, let's say that's the name of the article, I could say the Nile River explains that and put a direct quote from that source right here, followed by the page number in parentheses. I could say, the Nile River explains that blank. I could paraphrase something by stating and then put direct quotes. I could say, according to the Nile River, another direct quote. Or I could, get a little fancy and say, the Nile River, use a powerful verb that blank, and use a direct quote. And I know that was probably really fast, but I think you should understand this because you did this last year in English. But these are kind of the four main ones that we're going to use in social studies. So this powerful verb marker here, some examples of those are going to be listed here. These are kind of the main ones that we're going to use in social studies. Again, I pulled these from a giant list that an English teacher gave me, but these are some of the main ones that we're going to use in social studies. So where I was showing you here, a powerful verb goes, these are some examples. So what I could have said there was that the Nile River states that, and put a direct quote, or I could have said, the Nile River conveys that, and I could have put a direct quote there. You'll learn that you can mix these up, and these aren't set in stone. But if you just have no idea how to put evidence in a paragraph, this is a good place to start. If you know how to put evidence in a paragraph, you don't have to use an evidence starter or whatever, but this is just a good place to start, and it gets your brain going in the right direction. So if you need to pause the video at this point and make sure that you write all these in your notes, you can do that. But I'm going to move on to commentary. So whenever commentary behind text evidence or in front of text evidence, commentary tends to be what students struggle with the most. They do struggle with text evidence, but you guys have a hard time explaining the text evidence, explaining how it actually proves your claim. A lot of times you guys try and make other pieces of textual evidence your commentary, but commentary means that you're commenting on the textual evidence, you're not summarizing it, you're explaining how it proves the claim that you made in your topic sentence, all right? You hear commentary all the time if you watch sports, okay? The people that narrate the game are literally called commentators because they're commenting on what's happening. Okay, they're giving their opinion, they're adding little extra facts that they know. And so let's look at an example of that. Now I want to tell you that this scenario is completely false. If you read, this background statement, you'll understand no one will ever kick an 84-yard field goal. It's almost impossible. But it's the one I used for this example. So let's say the Saints are playing and Will Lutz is about to kick an 84-yard field goal. This is something a commentator might say. If Will Lutz makes this field goal, he will be considered the greatest kicker in NFL history. The current record, held by Matt Prater, is only 64 yards. Lutz successfully demonstrating his skill here would solidify him in the history books. That record alone would establish him as one of the greats. Here comes the kick. So that's something a commentator might say as the team's running out getting ready to kick the field goal. So which of these sentences would be considered commentary? I want you to think about that real quick. Look at them, make a guess. If you said these two sentences, you would be correct. Okay, so if we break this down, I had a topic sentence here. This is my topic sentence. If Will Lutz makes this field goal, He will be considered the greatest kicker in NFL history. That was my topic sentence. My text evidence, I can prove this, I can bring you the record book and show you, was the current record held by Matt Prater is only 64 yards. Now, the commentary explains how this evidence proves this topic sentence. Okay? So I'm saying if he successfully demonstrates his skill here, that's going to put him in the history books because he's going to break the record only being 64 yards. My second piece of commentary was that that record alone, with no other record, would establish him as one of the greats. Sorry, I got choked on spit there. That record alone would establish him as one of the greats. These are not necessarily, these are like my opinions, but they just explain, how this text evidence proves this claim. So hopefully that example helped you a little bit there, because here we go, moving on to terminology. Now bear with me here. If you get a little bit lost, just wait till we get to the bottom of this slide and I think it'll click. So we're going to use terminology, 2 words, chunk and ratio, okay? So a chunk is going to be a combination of text evidence and commentary. So keep that in mind. But a ratio is the number of text evidences combined with the number of commentary sentences. So if I say for every text evidence, you have to have 2 commentary sentences. That would be your ratio 1 to 2. Okay? So then if I said you had to write a paragraph with 2 chunks at a 1 to 2 ratio, okay? So 2 chunks at a 1 to 2 ratio, this is how I would say that. I would say write a 1 to 2 double chunk paragraph. So every paragraph we know has to have a topic sentence and a concluding sentence. But this one that I'm asking you to write has to be a double chunk at a 1 to 2 ratio. So, okay, I know I have to have 2 chunks in there, but what has to be in those chunks? That's where you go to ratio, 1 to 2. For every 1 text evidence, you're going to have 2 commentaries. There's 1 chunk. The second chunk, a text evidence and 2 commentaries. That's all that means. So hopefully you understand that. Because, you are about to write. So this prompt has nothing to do with social studies, but I thought it was interesting. Could possibly be divisive and something that you probably have an opinion on. But here is your prompt. Dictionary.com defines an athlete as a person who is proficient in sports, and it defines a sport as an activity involving physical exertion and skill in which an individual or team competes against another or others for entertainment. So I've given you your sources. According to dictionary.com, are professional video gamers athletes? Respond in a 1 to 2 double chunk paragraph. So on that handout at the bottom is a place where you can type this paragraph, and that entire handout is due by 4 o'clock today. So you can go back through this video, you can look at how you should use text evidence, how you should use commentary, what those are, and using this source right here that I gave you 2 different sources, so you should not have a problem coming up with 2 pieces of text evidence, because I only gave you 2. You are going to answer this prompt. I'm super interested in what you guys have to say about this, actually. So if you have any questions, remember you can email me. You can also schedule office hours and we can talk that way. But I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. So, come on.